The groom of the stool would also assist in the cleanup effort, either by handing the king his own personal cleaning cloth.
Oh, nah, bruh. I imagine having to clean another grown man's butt cheeks for some money. You know what? I'm good. The absolute worst jobs in history.
The worst jobs in history. If you ever think your job's crappy, try having to plunge into a pit of literal human doo-doo feces.
Okay. When I heard Gong farmer, I thought he was farming some like Schedule 1 type of, you feel me? Why are you farming poop? What is there inside or underneath it that you gotta farm? I understand maybe if we're like pushing it into like a junkyard or something, but what are you farming?
Every single night. Way back in the day in good old England, some daring men made a career out of wading through human excrement. So-called gong farmers were tasked with draining out cesspits filled to the brim with offensive butt slop. The profession had existed for centuries, but it saw its height between the years.
Yo, why is he so locked in? Yo, bro, relax. I highly doubt they're paying high to do this. There's no way you're getting paid like $50 an hour to like actually scoop out someone's poop like this. Calm down, bro. I never thought I'd say this, but wipe the poop off your head, get you a lemonade. Actually, do you even want to eat after doing something like this? I feel like everything you taste is gonna have the scent of literal poop. Imagine having your like partner come home smelling like actual feces.
1485 and 1603, also known as the Tudor period. Oi, I got some Tudor for you. Since this was way before the invention of the turlet, people were content with just slamming their cheeks down in a public latrine to pinch off a quick loaf. The other problem was the lack of availability of somewhere to go.
And this couldn't be healthy, bro. Yo, shout out the gong farmers, because before y'all existed, the amount of people that were probably just letting it stack, it probably smelled crazy there.
Towards the end of the 14th century, it's estimated that there was only one public bathroom per 2,000 people. Plus, keep in mind that all of that human waste was just piling up in a literal stone-lined hole in the ground.
And that's not even to mention those people that eat like 5 times a day, 10 times a day. That's not even to mention the different colors of what feces could be. Yo, apologies to anyone watching this video right now. Bruh, it's not even my fault. It ain't even my fault.
You were just dropping logs onto a mountain of timber. The local government, realizing that this horrid threat to public health was fermenting beneath everyone's feet, took action to allow the construction of private outhouses and latrines in residential areas as a way to disperse the smelly sewage.
Good.
It didn't work all that well.
Oh.
So with dookie levels rising, help was needed to drain the pits. Enter the gong farmer.
Dude, you ain't even got gloves. There's no way you're going into something like this without gloves. I thought y'all would have used like some heavy astronaut type gear, something to flush out all the gases, all the smoke, all the nasty fumes. You're going in there bare hands in wet feces.
Term gong deriving from an Old English term meaning to go. They were also referred to as the much more mysterious and cooler sounding title of nightmen, as the only time that they were allowed to perform their duties was under the shroud of night.
Well, that's good. I don't think I want anyone in public seeing me handle feces. That's a type of roast that you could never come back from. Y'all know him? Oh yeah, he's the one that picks up poop. Yeah, that's what he does for a living, bro. Don't let him ever criticize you. He actually shovels poop. Nobody wants to hear that.
And that really sucked. There were no flashlights, spotlights, or illumination of any kind. You just had to hope that the moon was shining brightly to light your way through the filth. The nightmen would enter these cesspits and drain the contents using buckets and shovels.
Do you see how he looks? Like, even he's guilty to find out that people are taking pictures of him, bro. It's okay, gong farmer. All right, just use gloves, bro.
Excrement was loaded into barrels and carted off to be dumped near the River Thames. Don't worry, it was used as fertilizer later. Maybe. These men would be knee-deep, waist-deep, even neck-deep in this stuff.
Neck-deep. How long do y'all wait until y'all pick up the next pieces of gong? Neck-deep in feces is crazy, bro. If they're neck-deep in, let's be honest, some of them had to have some of the gong in their mouth. Let's be real.
Which had its own risks, the first and foremost being asphyxiation.
Asphyxiation? You're getting choked out by poop? Plus, that's way too close to my nostrils. I'm sorry, bro. It can't happen.
Pits were often enclosed spaces with little to no ventilation, so the buildup of noxious and toxic gases was a very real threat. Although rare, a gong farmer could pass out from a lack of fresh air and drown in the waste.
Imagine you find out your cause of death was because of you cleaning poop. I gotta appreciate that I'm living in 2025. Because hell nah, bro. Getting paid to clean poop is crazy.
Another risk was poor maintenance. Cesspits were typically drained as needed, which, depending on the size of the thing, could be up to 2 years between sloppy scoops. Since these pits just sat there and rotted, it was common for stone walls to collapse in on the farmers while they harvested their crops. Any scrapes or bumps would certainly get infected, which could only lead to a painful death.
And y'all are not wearing gloves, bro. Like, y'all are not taking into account you could have any type of cuts in your fingers, any sorts of like discrepancies in your knees, whatever.
But these high risks were met with high reward. Since the job was less than desirable, Gong farmers made quite a healthy living, about 6 pence a day. Now, I'm not quite sure what that is in non-silly sounding money, but sounds pretty good. Problem is though, Gong farmers perpetually reeked from their labors and were only permitted to live in certain areas of the city. With most of the public.
Oh, then it's not worth it. You're telling me I'm shunned? Oh, and then if they're shunned to specific cities, that means everyone living there are low-key Gong farmers, bro. The whole area just smelling like straight poop. Nah, I'm good, bro.
Actively avoiding them and, well, treating them like crap.
Chimney sweep.
Now, if you're looking for a soul-crushing, body-breaking job that pays next to nothing, you're an idiot. But I could recommend that you apply for the occupation of chimney sweep. These services were all the rage in, you guessed it, England's Tudor period. But the job has existed for hundreds of years.
I'm just surprised that none of y'all came up with masks, bro. None of y'all came up with something to actually help your noses out. Because a lot of these jobs would have been much more safer if y'all just had some gas masks.
Rapid urbanization led to the construction of a lot of buildings, and each one of them suckers needs a source of heat. Gotta keep them English toesies nice and warm during the miserable gray winter months until the arrival of the miserable gray summer months. So a lot of fireplaces and chimneys were built to meet that demand. You do know how a fireplace works, right? Make fire, fire make heat and smoke go up through chimney and blow out the top. But all of that burning of wood and coal creates lots of icky carbon-heavy flammable deposits that build up within the chimney. Big problem, cause if that's not properly cleared out, then things can just go. And there goes not only your house, but a few neighbors' houses as.
Do people still use chimneys? I know that sounds crazy, but I haven't seen an actual chimney in so long. Like, I feel like nowadays people just have little square fireplaces and that's it. No one is actually going out their way to have full-on chimneys so that the smoke could go all the way up to the sky. I mean, now we also got ACs, so you don't even really need a chimney or fireplace, but the fact that no one thought of something like that is crazy.
Collateral damage. Well, the higher-ups didn't like the risk of their kingdom going up in smoke at any given time, so they mandated that chimneys must be swept at least 4 times a year or face heavy fines.
Sweep that shit 4 times a year. That doesn't even seem like that much. But obviously above a certain weight class, if you're 200 pounds, there's no reason to sign up for something like this. Yo ass gonna get stuck in the chimney. Let's just keep it real.
Thus, the employment of chimney sweeps became critical. The problem, though, is that chimneys at the time weren't exactly designed for human entry and cleaning. Bugger. Most flue networks in the building were grouped together on the roof, but could have sharp turns as they angled out towards their respective.
What about this? Y'all just drop some like laundry detergent or some cleaning soap and then y'all just pour it down there and then y'all wash it out, bro. I'm telling you, bro, people weren't geniuses back then, bro, because if it was up to me, I wouldn't even go down there. Plus, like, once you get to the middle of the chimney, what's gonna stop you from falling all the way down? You need a ladder.
Fireplaces or furnaces. To make matters even worse, regulations shrunk flue sizes down to as little as 9 by 9 inches. This made it nearly impossible for full-grown men to slip through the cracks. The solution? Children. Really?
Come on, bruh. Are we really risking children's lives for the sake of y'all chimneys? For the sake of your chimney to work? Okay, it must have been very cold wherever this is in the UK.
Young children. Adorable, wide-eyed orphans were yoinked from poor houses and taken on as apprentices called climbing boys, with opportunities to one day grow into master sweepers themselves. If they.
That was people's aspirations back then. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be the best chimney sweeper alive. Yo, I'm glad we could dream the way we want to dream now, because I'd be damned if I told people I want to clean chimneys.
They lived that long. If it wasn't obvious, chimney sweeping was extremely dangerous, especially for the little limber lads. Boys as young as 6 years old were sent up chimneys and
Yo, y'all not even gonna give them the benefit of the doubt of coming downwards?
To get scrubbing. The physical dangers were abundant, as several children had died from getting stuck or horribly burned from scaling the scalding bricks.
And back then, did y'all just not care? I know child labor was a thing, but did y'all not care about lowering the deaths so long as your chimney is clean?
Keep in mind that these fireplaces were almost always in use, so those chimneys were hot and ready like a carry-out pizza. Now, if the cramming didn't kill you, the scrubbing would. Soot and creosote, the organic carbonaceous byproducts of burning wood and coal, are carcinogenic. So if you're trapped in a confined space, just scrub-a-dub-dubbing away while sucking up hits of cancer-causing black powder all day, day.
Yeah, that's not even to mention when they grow up, they're gonna be cooked. They might survive this as a kid and be all good, but when they're like 50, 40, oh, it's GG's. See, that's why the life expectancy was so short back then, because a lot of y'all would just be doing dumb things.
Things are not going to turn out well for you. But it actually wasn't your lungs that you needed to worry about. No, it was your balls. Scrotal squamous cell carcinoma, also known as chimney sweeps carcinoma, or just straight up scrotal cancer, was a death sentence. Something I didn't mention until now was that the young children, as a way to fit easier into the narrow hot chimneys, often went commando. No shirt, no shoes, no pants, but all service.
Yo, arrest all the adults back then. There is no way y'all were comfortable with letting little kids butt booty ass naked up the chimney so that they could do y'all dirty work. That's disgusting. What was the life expectancy for them?
The constant exposure to soot and such led to the development of tumors on their nethers.
Not only that, but it's like the fact that it's having direct contact with it as well.
Once developed, they were lucky if they had a few years left in them. Sure, your sack is out of whack, but damn, that chimney's clean.
Wow. Matchstick
You've
girl.
probably heard of the radium girls, young women of the workforce that would paint luminous numbers and hands onto timepieces in the early 1900s. Well, this is similar. Towards the end of the 19th century, matchmaking was a pretty lucrative business. Not like pairing couples up, but making literal matches. By the late 1800s, there were about 25 matchmaking factories across Great Britain, employing over 4,000 chaps and chapettes. The process, as with most industries at the time, involved working with some nasty chemicals. The flavor of the day here was white phosphorus, an unstable compound that burned fiercely when ignited. You know, perfect for the few seconds that you would need to set something ablaze. On top of being both easily ignitable and violently reactive with oxygen, it had the triple whammy of also being extremely toxic.
What's to say that you light up one match and it's gonna light up the whole factory in its entirety? Like, all it takes is for one person to go and they just drop it and then everybody's cooked, right?
Of all matchmaking jobs, roughly half were involved in the direct handling of white phosphorus, with over 80% of the phosphorus fingerers being young women. These women would come to be known as matchstick girls.
Yo, it must have sucked being young back then, bro. Like, at least now kids could go to school, you know, live their life, watch cartoons, enjoy life, and then high school when you become to an adult. When you're 18, that's when you're gonna have to really start worrying. But back then, as a kid and adult, your whole life is depressed.
Day in and day out, these women were tasked with packaging the dipped matchsticks, with an entire workforce handling as many as 10 million across a 10-hour shift, meeting the demand of the 250 million matches being burned in Britain every single day.
Damn.
Remember that fire is what got people through the day. Need to cook? Fire. Need to keep warm? Fire. Need to see in the dark? Fire. Need to shrink your overhead? Fire. It was the biggest blessing humanity has ever discovered, and you can now summon it out of a little box in your pocket. The obvious problem is that fiddling with all of those fickle phosphorus fumes physically fucked you up. It was very common for both men and women to form phosphoric necrosis.
So that means your jaw's gone. Basically the quite opposite of a dream face reveal. You're the opposite of a crimson chin. You got no chin.
Of the jaw. The condition, nicknamed Fossy jaw, developed after the long-term exposure to phosphorus fumes. Initial symptoms included simple toothaches, which evolved into complete tooth loss, abscesses, swelling of the gums, and complete necrosis of the jaw.
Yo, and it was so terrible back then because I highly doubt, first and foremost, that they knew this. And second of all, the doctors back then had to be terrible. They had to be like, oh, you're feeling sick? Go ahead, smoke a cigarette. Their remedies back then were probably terrible.
To put it simply, your jaw rotted off. If you did get the jaw rot, there was about a 1 in 5 chance that the rest of your body would be rotting not long after from contracting an even worse condition known as death. In 1888, over 1,400 matchstick girls, fed up with this blatant disregard for their safety, decided to strike, demanding better pay, working conditions, and abolition of unfair fines.
Yeah, if I had the risk of my jaw actually becoming loose or becoming non-existent, I'm gonna be wanting to get paid more too.
And penalties. The strike lasted for 2 weeks before demands were met and accepted. 20 years later, in 1908, the British House of Commons completely banned the use of toxic white phosphorus in favor of the much safer and less toxic red phosphorus, which is what we use in matches today, but not in the match head, on the striking pad. So remember to light one up for the matchstick girls.
Burlac.
If you think your job's exhausting, try hauling an entire freaking ship up a river with your bros. These are burlacs, or barge
You know what? I'd rather do that than clean up people's poop. Easily. It's not even close.
haulers. They hauled barges. Typically dirt poor peasants just looking for enough coin to eat for a week, these men were tasked with strapping on a strap and using whatever strength they had left in them to pull in ships from the Caspian Sea all the way up the Volga River in the days of the Russian Empire. Since ship traffic was near constant thanks to strong trade, burlaks were in high demand to carefully guide the vessels up the Volga. But why couldn't the ships just sail up the river, you might ask? Because the Volga flows outward towards the Caspian Sea, and there were rarely favorable winds to propel a ship up the river, lest you risk beaching your entire ship on the banks. So why not hire a bunch of exhausted and desperate poor people to do the work instead? Whoa, slow down fellas, there's no need for us to be Russian. Depending on the load size, burlak groups could range from just a few men up to 150 fellas pulling a single ship. But there was a moment of respite for these workers. See, one advantage to working in the Russian Empire
Is it easier pushing a ship from the back or the front? Because I'd assume if you guys are pushing it using your hands going up, it's going to be much easier than just walking and using your body weight.
was the cold winters. Can't exactly move ships upstream when the waterways are completely frozen over. So burlaks were seasonal, working dawn until dusk, thaw till frost. But since the combination of being poor and not working meant certain death, the men would pick up odd jobs in the winter to barely scrape by.
Hey, I make a duck. Smudgy, smudgy.
I don't think anyone is in a severe market for ducks in winter or anywhere in the 1800s.
At the beginning of the 19th century, it is estimated that about 600,000 burlaks worked in the Russian Empire. But the evolution of ship technology and the invention of the steam-powered ship rendered the job obsolete. By the end of the 19th century, the burlak profession had vanished over the horizon.
Good. Snake milker. Oh no, I don't like where this is going. Yo, I didn't even know snakes had milk. Yo, let me find out that snakes got some chest action going on.
Now I know what you're thinking, so stop it. This has nothing to do with milking your own snake or giving little pinches to little snake nips, which don't exist. Snakes aren't mammals. The job of a snake milker was to extract their venom from their fangs. He looks cute, right? Think again. Snake venom was highly coveted for use in early warfare as a biological weapon.
I don't know how there's people out here that actually just thoroughly enjoy just being around snakes. No, bro. If I had to be a snake milker, bro, I'm getting full body gear. There is not a single place that a snake could bite me where I'm gonna be cooked. There's no way.
Granting you the ability to proc tick damage over time to your enemies if you weren't able to finish them off yourself. Perhaps the best weapons of choice to get slathered in the stuff were arrows. Lethality of arrows varied greatly. Take one in the skull? Yeah, sure, you're dead as a doornail. But take one in a less critical spot like an arm or a leg, assuming you don't sever an artery, and you might just live to see another day. But that all goes out the window if the arrow tip was dipped in some venomous drip. Quite a few civilizations have been noted for using envenomed or poisoned arrows throughout history. You've got the Khoisan people of southern Africa who have been using poisoned arrows for thousands of years in hunting large prey, and the Harmatilians who used viper venom against an invading Alexander.
So y'all are using snake liquids to win battles. You know, it's smart, but so long as you won't ever get the snake venom on you.
The Great. But no army employed the use of snake venom better than the Scythians. Also duking it out against Alexander the Great, the Scythians developed their own iconic poison for warfare, combining not only viper venom, but also putrefied human blood and excrement. Even minor scrapes from their weapons were lethal. So,
So they basically got everyone that had actual like illnesses and said, you know what, let's just get a little bit of blood from you. We're gonna combine that with venom. Oh, everybody's gonna get cooked. Imagine they had like Magic Johnson and they're like, oh, you got HIV, mix that with snake venom. That's a deadly duo. No, at that point, you might as well just, it's GG's, you're cooked.
On top of dealing with being envenomed, you also dealt with the horrors of gangrene and tetanus. So with all that said and done, yeah, snake milkers. Like I said, it was their job to wrangle and wrestle up enough snakes to meet the demand of entire armies. But luckily, this wasn't a time for catch and release practices. Kill the snakes, take their venom. That's the job. Of course, that is easier said than done.
But honestly, that's gotta be easier than actually catching them alive. I feel like it's much easier thinking to yourself, let me go ahead and end this little dude's life, as opposed to like actually like having to grab him by the neck.
By nature, snakes are shy little fellas and pretty hard to find. Chances are you get struck before you even noticed one. One catch of their fangs is enough for it to be game over. Snake milkers were considered lucky if they even managed to survive a single round of collecting.
I think it's time for a quick science lesson.
So y'all needed 3 bodies for 1 snake. Is that even worth the trade? You would probably do better in Battlefield if you guys just had everyone you had.
Venoms can be sorted into 3 main types: neurotoxic, hemotoxic, cytotoxic, yikes. Neurotoxins strike and destroy all your nerves. You're agonized and paralyzed, as you can observe. Hemotoxins target all your healthy blood, thinning down or clotting up, so now you're done for, bud. Cytotoxins focus on killing all your cells, so you can probably guess that you won't be doing well. Just avoid snakes, and you'll be doing fine. I know you fellas and fellettes just love a good rhyme. So to close this chapter out, yes, snake milkers still exist nowadays, though only for medical research and developing anti-venom rather than biological warfare. Or so we think.
Drummer boy.
Imagine getting ready to charge onto a battlefield to either invade a country or defend your own. You see your fellow soldiers gearing up for battle with their trusty firearms, and you're given a drum.
No. I'm sorry, we're in Battlefield. The last thing y'all need is some AirPods. The last thing y'all need is some music going on, bro. Imagine having to defend yourself using nothing but a drum and some drumsticks. No, bro.
I gotta fight. Drummers, believe it or not, were a critical part of warfare in the
And they were little kids. These were little kids that had to see people fight. Hell nah. I better be all the way in the back. Like all the way in the back to the point when the fight starts, I could just leave.
days of yore. Since there were no such things as radios or more instantaneous methods of communication, drummer boys were employed and trained to maintain order on the battlefield, signaling commands, attacks, retreats, and everything in between. Peaking in popularity during the American Civil War, drummer boys were typically in their teenage years or young adulthood, though some more famous drummer boys were much younger. Little Charlie King of the Union Army died in battle at the age of just 13.
And you expect me to play drums? Like, if you're gonna expect me to play drums, the least you could do is give me a rifle. Let me just have one to the side of me so that if someone comes next to me, they're cooked.
Being the youngest casualty in the Battle of Antietam. Itty bitty Johnny Clem ran away from home and was taken in by the Union Army as a drummer boy at the ripe old age of 9. Just a few years later, the little fella fought in the Battle of Chickamauga in 1863 at the age of 12, where he shot and killed a Confederate soldier.
What you gonna do? Shoot?
He was promoted
Amazing. That kid got aim.
to sergeant, eventually retiring from the United States Army in
Damn! So he survived? Oh yeah, y'all better give him like 5 Medal of Honors.
1915 as a brigadier general. But that's a rare occurrence. In reality, it would have gone more like this. Despite what people may think, drummer boys did not lead troops into battle. That would be stupid. Instead, they would relay commands from behind soldier lines, though they were still
See, that
known
would
to be
make
valuable
sense.
targets. If you break the communication line, you break down the army. Outside of combat, drummer boys had a wealth of other responsibilities, such as carrying messages between units, assisting battlefield surgeons with amputations, carting the wounded up the field.
Apprehensive amputator. So you're trusting 13-year-olds to just cut off your arm? I don't think it's that easy. I mean, unless it is. Unless y'all got easy ways to just amputate people.
Fetching supplies or burying the dead. They very rarely carried weapons of their own, so if they had to defend themselves in the heat of battle, they were pretty shit out of luck.
I mean, the drum. Groom of the stool. Okay, so this is the royal butt wiper.
If you wanted to be one of the most influential people in all of England but don't have a drop of royal blood in you, you'd want to squeeze into the role of the groom of the stool, a job requiring you to get up real close and personal with the king or queen at the time.
I don't think anybody's gonna look at you like, oh my god, you know him? He's such a goat. He's the dude that cleans the king's butt. He's the one that does it, bro. I mean, unless they do. Unless back then y'all were flexing the most random things.
Look, we all have to go once or 12 times a day, so someone as prestigious and important as the king is gonna need help doing so. I mean, imagine feeling the sudden urge to blow out your britches, but you have to fight through said britches to accomplish the mission. Grooms of the stool assisted the monarch with any labors regarding.
That's the toilet seats? Y'all had cushions for their butt? I mean, honestly, that would make sense. I guess that's what comfort was. But like, what's to say that they don't get any on the actual seat? That has to be horrible to clean.
Biological movements. This included helping the removal of clothing, preparation of the lavish and luxurious
Removal of clothing? Y'all took off y'all whole outfit just to poop?
royal shipbox, and the removal of the splendiferous solids, but not before their proper examination. Yeah, that's right. Grooms of the stool were not only tasked with cleaning up the royal slurry, but making sure that the passings were healthy, taking notes of any abnormalities in appearance or frequency. These notes would be passed on to the king's personal physician to diagnose any possible ailments. Well, that's not very helpful, is it?
What if he has a green poop and then all he was eating is veggies and now you think he has something crazier? I don't trust physicians or doctors back then.
After the log was sent down the river, the groom of the stool would also assist in the cleanup effort, either by handing the king his own personal cleaning cloth.
Oh, nah, bruh. Nah, imagine having to clean another grown man's butt cheeks for some money. You know what? I'm good.
Or by taking up wiping duties themselves. Now you might think that this job sucked, but it was actually highly coveted and well respected, as grooms of the stool had access to the king outside of the public eye.
So most of y'all wanted to line up to clean another grown man's butt. Y'all need help. I mean, back then, I feel like it was hard to gain any money, so cleaning someone's butt was probably one of the better things to do.
Allowing for valuable private conversations. Commonly high-ranking nobles or politicians.
If you're talking to me while I'm taking the number 2, bro, I'm gonna look at you crazy. I'm trying to squeeze my butt cheeks to let this poop go through my legs. And you're over here trying to tell me how my day was?
Grooms of the stool were known to have influence in many formal rulings, laws, or personal life. So that Anne Boleyn chick's hot, right? No. The first documented groom of the stool dates all the way back to 1495 under King Henry VII.
Imagine putting that like job up like on a tree or like on LinkedIn. Hey, we need someone that could actually wipe butts. If you're a good butt wiper, please let me know. You're gonna have to use the softest of fabrics on me though.
Role continued to evolve over the years to the title of groom of the stole, though they were more so referred to as either the gentleman or gentlewoman of the bedchamber, depending on the monarch in charge, with responsibilities eventually focusing solely on the king or queen's wardrobe. The position was held for over 400 years until being formally discontinued under King Edward VII in 1901. Well, that's that video.
YouTube, let me know which job you think was the worst. Let me know if any jobs you know right now that are terrible. Let me know which one you would work as if you had to work as one. Make sure you guys follow the Instagram. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Road to 1 million subs. Thank you guys very much for everything. Likes are for life. Love y'all.